and welcome to this seminar. This is Class Size Realities, Evidence, Practice, and Pathways for Learning at Scale. Adrienne is a literacy and pedagogy specialist at the Learning Systems Institute at Florida State University.
Today we're going to talk about some evidence and practices around large class pedagogy. So as an educator, I have spent years searching for evidence on effective teaching and methodologies for classes. And finally, a few years ago, I brought together a team to begin exploring this topic. Our key research questions were, what instructional techniques are identified in the literature as effective? What strategies can be used for classroom management, and how can teachers effectively conduct assessments and provide feedback performance for these large numbers of learners? We started with 14,000 resources on large class pedagogy, but after removing anything that wasn't related to primary or secondary education or that were duplicated, we ended up with less than 100 resources that were relevant. There were 6 major themes that emerged from the literature. Theme 1 was building a classroom community. It makes the class feel smaller. It helps it function well. The emphasis is on student-teacher relationships, enhancing trust and support, and promoting belonging and respect among the peers. The second theme is about effective behavior management. Teachers are encouraged to use proactive, responsive, and positive reinforcement strategies to strengthen those student-teacher connections and the student-student connections. The third theme focused on establishing and training students on regularly utilized classroom routines, entering and exiting the classroom, distributing materials, how to complete classroom chores, take attendance, how to engage with peers, move in and out of groups, even like what students should do when they finish their work. And then learning formats. Theme 4 was about utilizing a variety of formats, moving between different formats to keep the learners engaged, but it also requires the teachers to really think through their seating plans, to really think through how they're organizing their classroom so that the learners can go from maybe a whole class lesson to a little bit of pair or group work, back to a whole class lesson to independent work, but then also while doing that the teacher is differentiating instruction for those learners in a way that's going to help all the learners be learning at a level that's appropriate to them. Theme 5 was about using creative, formative, and summative assessments. Teachers note that assessment is really challenging. Due to the high number of students and the demands that the system places on teachers to conduct different types of assessments, assessment is a very sensitive topic with teachers. And theme 6 is about resource scarcity and management. The teachers, we're talking about even teacher planning time, teacher instructional time, the number of materials, and the space that the classroom, that the teachers have to move around the classroom. So they have to effectively organize their lessons to efficiently use time, materials, and classroom space. So after we conducted this review of the last 25 years of research, we decided to conduct some exploratory research, and we visited 47 primary school classrooms across Malawi to learn directly from teachers how they handle these overcrowded classrooms. But today I'm focusing on sharing some best practices that we observed, as well as some barriers that teachers identified as inhibiting their ability to utilize the practices that they know are best for instruction. And like I said, we visited 47 classrooms in grades 2 and 4. And in the classrooms we observed, there were between 50 and 224 learners present. So we conducted thematic analysis of focus group discussions and semi-structured interviews, and we learned that most teachers know what the best practices are for effective learning, but experience major barriers to being able to utilize them. 4 major themes that emerged from our research are scarcity, time, space, resources. This amplifies the challenge of large classes. Training. most of these teachers have not been trained on how to use those strategies in extremely large classes. And honestly, based on like the 25 years of the review of the last 25 years of research, there really isn't empirical evidence on what is most effective out there. Well-being. So educators are often demotivated, undercompensated, unsupported, and feel unrecognized. And then assessment. The assessment requirements are unrealistic. They take huge amounts of instructional time and leave no time for data to drive instruction. So teachers are often expected in a class of 224 to assess every child every week on every skill. Based on our observations and discussions with teachers, we recommend some pedagogical approaches or practices that appear to be promising for helping teachers to provide effective instruction and helping all students have the opportunity to learn. For building a classroom community, emphasizing interpersonal relationships, being aware of learner needs, and engaging learners in conversations with each other and the teacher. Establishing a behavior plan in collaboration with the learners, planning for movement and instruction, developing routines, and engaging in teacher reflection on what works and what needs to be improved. Integrating higher level open-ended questions, redefining active participatory learning as knowledge application rather than call and response or rote memorization, and then focusing on feedback that leads to a correct answer or a solution process for the learners. And then finally, focusing on language as the foundation of learning. Not just learning, but learning concepts, learning second language skills, and learning critical thinking skills.
Adrienne, that's really such a rich study, and thank you so much for sharing that.